Welcome into your daily Buckeye Blitz for a Saturday. It's a game day. Get up. It's going to be a long day, man. Buckeyes don't play till 7:30 tonight. So we got a lot of games going on. This is one of the best slates of games, one of the best weeks. We've looked at a lot of these over the summer, but the Buckeye game obviously is the one we've had circled for months. Excuse me. So uh, apologies for the ambiance. And if you hear any racket in the background, the faculty staff is coming around cleaning rooms and shit. So gonna hear some shit slamming around, people talking. Keep it down, Consuela. Uh, you know the drill. Anyway, so this is your best bets. I'm going to get this out to you Friday evening, so you have plenty of time to load up your bets and play along with me. Hit me in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree, or if you got some other games you're looking at. I only go big game hunting. I don't bet on, New Mexico State versus UTSA. I don't care about those two teams ever. They mean nothing to the national picture, in my opinion. I bet on teams that could make the playoffs for the most part. So, all right, let's start it off here. South Carolina at Bama. This is a nooner on ABC. So starting off right, Bama getting housed by Vandy. I think it's safe to say, right? Yeah, he got Diego'd. Anyway, so Bama's got one loss in the SEC. Who would have thunk it? This is in Tuscaloosa, so home game for Bama. Spread is 21.5. Now, looking at these two offenses and defenses and the differences, Alabama's putting up 7.6 yards per play. South Carolina just 4.9. That seems like a big difference. And then third down conversions, Bama is 46.55, South Carolina 30%. Then on defense, South Carolina and Alabama are equal in opponent yards per play, 4.4 yards per play. They both allow. So let me look at some of the yardage stats here real quick. Yards per game, South Carolina's putting up 360 on offense. Alabama's allowing 336. South Carolina's 80th in the country. That seems like a problem. They can't move the ball well enough to keep up with Bama. It's going to be the Jalen Milroe show, and I don't think the South Carolina defense has the horses to run with them. Alabama's fifth in the country in scoring. South Carolina's defense is 24th, but the yards per play thing, yards per game, South Carolina's defense is good, but I think Alabama is really hurting right now, and they need to go out and probably win out and get into that SEC championship game. And who knows, they could still lose that game and get into the playoffs. But I think they have a mentality right now that they have a very slim margin for error. And, we're halfway through the season. You got to start looking at the playoffs and how you can make sure you get your team in. One more loss on the fence, So, yeah, I'm going Bama, even though it's a weird number, 21.5. You can tease that down to 21 if you want. Probably go down to like minus 120 on the juice. But regardless, I think this South Carolina defense is not good enough. Rushing yards per game, they're 32nd in the country. Passing yards per game, they're 30th. So good, top half of the country for sure. But I think Bama's just they're going to Bama you, and Milroe's going to do it one more time. So Bama minus 21.5. All right. Next game, another nooner here. This one's a little weird. Washington is at Iowa. That's at Kinnick Stadium, Iowa City. Iowa is favored by 2.5, even with Washington kicking the crap out of the Cheaters last week up in Seattle. Washington's 4-2, 2-1 in Big Ten play. But my concern here is that let me get my matchup here. My concern here is the sledgehammer game that Washington just had against the Cheaters. So I know that they've really come around. Jedfish has used the portal well, but two of these games against a run-heavy team back-to-back in Michigan and Iowa, that's a bit much. I'm not sure Washington has it in the shorts. You know what I'm saying? So pulling up their stats here. Washington puts up 6.9 yards per play. Iowa puts up 5.2. That's surprising. I didn't think Iowa would be that high. um, and then defensive stats, Washington allows 4.1 yards per play. So they're better in those regards. But when you look at these, the yardage, Washington's rushing, they're 64th in the country running the ball. Iowa's 15th in opponent rushing yards per game, under 100. Passing, Washington's solid there, 303. That's 12th in the country. And that's kind of the weak spot for Iowa. But I don't know if this Washington team has the energy to come, two time zones. Again, we talked about, is that a big deal or not? So far in a small sample size, teams traveling two time zones in either direction, it has not fared well for the traveling team. So Iowa's defense, we softened them up a little bit last week. I think they're going to be back and ready to inflict some pain. And weird shit happens out in the cornfields. So I'm taking Iowa at home, -2.5, a field goal. Hell yeah, all day long. And don't forget to wave to the kids. Next up, we got a 3:30 game here. This is the Red River Shootout. Emphasis. Number one team in the country, Texas, 5-0, 1-0 in the SEC. They're taking on number 18, Oklahoma, 4-1, 1-1 in the SEC. This is at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, where it is perfectly divided down the middle. Half Texas, half Oklahoma. Love it. Beautiful. This is Quinn Ewers is back for the Longhorns. So I'm looking at this game and I'm going through the matchup stats here and stuff, and I'm looking at like points per game. Texas is fourth in the country. Oklahoma is 12th. But Oklahoma still looks too much like a Big 12 team to me. Texas has upgraded their defense, especially along the lines and their offensive line. Running backs are solid. They throw to them really well out of the backfield. Texas running the ball is 30th in the country, but Oklahoma's 23rd in the country in allowing 105 per game on the ground. Now, passing game is where things get separated here. Old Venables chewing on his teeth there on the sidelines, gritting his teeth. Texas throws for 322 per game. They didn't really fall off much with Arch at the helm, but now with Quinn Ewers back, they're ninth in the country. You got Oklahoma's defense, 218.6 they're giving up per game and through the air. That's 66 in the country. That seems like a problem. And then when you look at Oklahoma with the ball, they just don't put up enough points, man. They're 52nd in the country, putting up 29 points a game. Under 300 yards per game they're putting up on offense. That's 115th in the country. And Texas is second in opponent points per game, third in opponent yards per game. So they're up there in the top five with us in most defensive categories. And again, Oklahoma can't run the ball. They're 88th in the country in rushing, and then passing, they're 110th in passing yards in the country. So I'm going heavy here on Texas. I believe they get up early and coast. I'm taking Texas -7.5 for the first half and -14, for the game. Coffee burps. So heavy Texas lean there. I forgot to check on player prop bets. I will do that. Hopefully while I'm talking. Another 3:30 game here. The Red River Shootout was on ABC. This one's on CBS. Penn State at USC in this classic Big Ten matchup, right? Penn State undefeated, 5-0, 2-0 in the Big Ten. USC defeated, 3-2 on the season, 1-2 in the Big Ten. Ouch, Lincoln, ouch. Rough first year for the Riley. Riley. This is in the Coliseum in LA. Now I'm going to throw you a little curveball here. You're probably expecting me to go with Penn State, James Franklin, all the stuff, right? Running game, solid. But I love me some home dogs. And this game and the next one we're going to talk about, both home teams are dogs +3.5. So more than a field goal dogs. I'm going USC, look at the points per game. USC is 20th. They're actually higher at their opponent points per game. So PSU, Penn State is 23rd in the country. USC's defense is 20th in the country in allowed points, yards per game. USC's defense is better. They're 23rd in the country in allowing 316 yards per game. Now, looking at the rushing yards, that's where we expect to see Penn State make their hay, right? 218 per game. That's 14th in the country for Penn State. But USC, 76th in the country, allowing 159 per game. Okay. Now, what's the health of Nick Singleton, Katron Allen? Are those guys 100%? So we'll see. Then passing yards, Penn State puts up 244 per game. So Drew Aller still has not really had that big game. They're 47th in the country in passing yards per game. And then USC, ninth in the country in opponent passing yards per game, allowing 158. So just saying, I'm not sure Penn State can blow these guys off the ball in the run game. And when USC has the ball, you got they're 30th in the country in yards per game, 45th in the country in points per game. Now, can Penn State stop this passing attack? I don't know. They don't have that. I know that that their DNs are good. I don't think they have a Chop Robinson type of defensive edge rusher, that's a freaky freak. So we'll see. I think a home dog. I think Penn State might come in, maybe a little too confident. And this is a classic James Franklin, oops kind of game. Also could be said the same for Lincoln Riley. These guys are like mirror images, except for the, shaved head and the color difference. Too early for vodka? No, never. Anyway, so I'm going USC plus 3.5 at home in the Mausoleum. Remember when the Raiders used to play there in LA? They called it the Mausoleum because nobody went. It was dead. Anyway, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. This is not your Buckeye game. This is Ole Miss, number 9. For some reason, still ranked in the top 10, Ole Miss. Anyway, they're 5-1, 1-1 in the SEC against number 13 LSU. Again, SEC bias by the polls. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, LSU's 4-1, 1-0 in the SEC. This is at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Right. So looking at these guys, this is another home dog matchup that I love. And it is another 3.5 point home dog for LSU. I'm in Death Valley, 7:30 at night on a Saturday night. You freaking kidding me, man? I've seen some crazy shit there at that time of day. Now, Ole Miss, they put up some yards. Yes, they do. And LSU, they allow some yards. Ole Miss is second in the country in yards per game on offense. LSU is 59th in the country on defense, opponent yards per game. But putting it in the end zone is key for Ole Miss. And running the ball, they're 27th in yards per game. But LSU's 30th in opponent yards allowed. Passing yards, LSU or OSU, Ole Miss, hello, is 6th in the country. LSU is 100th. So I don't expect LSU to win this game, but this is one of those Lane Kiffin oops kind of games where maybe they win by a point, maybe 2. I don't know. We'll see. Again, this could be a major shootout. LSU points per game, they're 30th. They put up 33 yards per game, 490. That's 8th in the country. So LSU can move the ball just as well. This could be a complete shootout. I can see both these defenses just shitting the bed and not even showing up. So passing yards per game, LSU is 5th in the country. Passing yards per game, Ole Miss is 6th. So these two offenses are, going to go up and down the field, I think. But all in all, LSU probably loses, but they cover the 3.5. So I'm going Tigers plus 3.5. Now, for your Buckeye game, 7:30 p.m. on NBC, coming to you from Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. I just watched Son of a Woman the other day, and Al Pacino pronounces Oregon. He pronounces Oregon. Hooah, flowing like mud around here. Anyway, that's enough. Number two, Ohio State. Number two team in the country, 5-0. We know. At number three, Oregon, 5-0 as well. Buckeyes are favored by 3. This is um, almost two teams that also look alike, where you got a heavy offense on both sides. Very creative play callers, very experienced play callers, and offenses that run a lot of RPO game. Both want to run the ball at you, but they are going to let their quarterbacks make the decisions in the RPO run pass option game, and they will occasionally keep it. So these guys are not very different from each other when you look at the offenses. Now, where I think the Buckeyes have the advantage is on defense. I know that Oregon's brought in a ton of transfers. That's what they've had to do over the last few years. Dan Lanning's only in year 3. So the transfer portal allows coaches to flip that team quickly. And when you got Phil's money, Uncle Phil's bags of Nike cash, you can throw at everybody. Makes that transfer portal much more enticing to some decent players. So, they brought in Derek Harmon from Michigan State. They got the corner from Washington, Jabbar Muhammad. Harmon's from Michigan State. But and you got DJU's brother, Mateo U, at DN, the young guy, and Birch, the other DN, solid, good. My question is, what happens when these two teams' defenses get into their depth, right? Think back to the Texas at Michigan game. The cheaters, when they had Grant and Graham in there, Texas would throw outside, get those guys running side to side, right? And then they get into Michigan's defensive line depth, and those guys were soft. They would Texas would plow right at the cheaters, and they'd be successful there. I think similar thing here. Not that Oregon has defensive tackles that are as good as Grant and Graham for the cheaters, but I think Oregon does not have the depth, especially along the trenches, to keep up with Ohio State. And I believe they don't have the secondary to match up with our receivers. We've got 3 receivers that can all go nuts on you at any given time. And circle in Brandon Inniss if you want. 2 running backs that are studs. One comes out, the other one comes in. You never miss a beat. I don't think Oregon has that on the offensive side of the ball too. They do have some playmakers on offense. But again, when you get into the depth, overall, Ohio State has a huge advantage in my opinion. And that's why I'm taking the Buckeyes by a field goal. If you were lucky enough to bet on this game over the summer when they released the early lines, you might have got the Buckeyes at +1.5. And I think I did that exactly. Was it? Let's see. Yep, +1.5. I also have Ohio State over the cheaters -6.5. So, anyways, hopefully you were able to take advantage of that too. But regardless, on this game, it's going to be tight. These teams are going to feel each other out, barring a big play like a huge turnover, scoop and score, fumble, whatever, pick 6, something like that. I think this is a tight game for the most part till the fourth quarter. The Buckeyes take the Ducks into deep water, and Ducks can't swim. It's true. They can't. They don't have gills. So Buckeyes win, and Buckeyes roll on, and Ducks take one. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Agree, disagree with any of those, any other games you want to talk about, drop them in the comments, and we'll talk to you later. Go Bucks.